Hi everyone, I'm Katrina. In this video I'm going to go over how to create a beautiful WordPress website for your yoga business or your wellness business. The good news is the website we're going to be creating in this video is good for any kind of business, but I'm specifically going to be creating a website for a yoga business. Before we begin though, I want to give a quick update on what's been going on in my world since I posted my other video, my last video on the Periscope app, the live broadcasting app developed by Twitter. And if you watch that video, you may recall that I was a little bit nervous to get started with a live broadcasting app because, you know, all the bloopers are in the video and all that good stuff. But anyway, I have to say there's nothing like expanding your comfort zone by simply jumping in the water and doing something a lot. So as a little nugget of inspiration in this video, if there's anything that's kind of outside of your comfort zone that you're trying to overcome, I encourage you to just dive in and do whatever it is a lot. That's a really good way to expand your comfort zone and overcome whatever fear or anxiety that you may have about something. So anyway, that's my little token of inspiration, I hope, from my own personal experience. And if you'd like to join me on Periscope, I would love to see you there. You can find me at Katrina on Periscope, and we can talk about all this web stuff in a live broadcasting format. So I have been going over some of the questions that you've submitted on my website. So thank you so much, everyone, for submitting those questions. I'll be posting those videos. If you didn't catch the live broadcast, I'll be posting them shortly on my YouTube. So stay tuned for answers to your questions. I'm going to try and answer as many of them as I can. And the other update to what's been going on in my world since my last YouTube post is I've released a new website. It's called katrinayoga.com, and on that website I'm going to be sharing all the stuff I'm learning about yoga and stand-up paddleboard yoga, because those are two of the things that I love to do outside of all this fun web stuff. So if you're interested in yoga or stand-up paddleboard yoga, please feel free to join me on my other website as well at katrinayoga.com. And I also have an Instagram, same name, Katrina Yoga, and I just started a side YouTube channel as well. It's going to be a fun YouTube, really, but I'm going to, again, just be posting stuff about yoga, stand-up paddleboard yoga. So if you're interested, please join me at katrinayoga.com. So without further ado, let's get started in building this awesome WordPress website for our yoga business or our wellness business using the free WordPress website theme called Sydney. So let's take a quick tour of the business website we're going to be creating step by step from scratch in this video using the free WordPress website theme called Sydney, which is available in the WordPress theme library. At the top, you'll have your website logo or your title. Then we'll have our menu navigation items right here in the top right-hand corner. Then we'll have our title, subtitle, and a call to action, which leads to an internal page on the website. And note that here I have a static image on the home page, but you can also have a revolving slider if you prefer. So the cool thing about the Sydney theme is there's lots of customizations, especially related to adding Google fonts really easily, and also different styles that you can use for your home page. In this demo, I'm going to have a static image, however, so I'll show you both ways how to set up the home page, either with a slider or with simply a static image. Underneath the image, then we'll move into the various sections on our home page, starting with a mission statement, so that when your visitors come to your site, they know really clearly, really easily and fast what your whole website is about. Underneath the mission, then we're going to add our services, so it's clear what you're offering on your website. Then we're going to add a video to bring to life our website with a video, and then we'll have our testimonials section, our latest on the blog section, and then finally at the bottom we'll have our footer section where we'll add an email opt-in form so you can start capturing leads directly from within your website. And we'll also add our social network icons so anyone who visits can easily connect with you on the social web. So that is the home page right here. To take a look at some of the internal pages, I'm going to click on the classes page, and of course this is the page where you can outline all the different services or products that you're offering on your website. Next up, we have our blog archive page where you can start driving traffic to your website through your blogs, which is always a good idea. Note that on the blog archive page, we also have our email opt-in form so you can start capturing leads on the sidebar of your site as well. We have a search box and our recent posts. So this is all customizable content, and I'll show you how to customize it in this video. Next up, we have our About page. This is one of the most important pages on your website because it's one of the most visited pages. Everyone wants to know who you are, what you're about, and what they can expect from your website. So I'll show you how to add an About page here on this website. And last but not least, we'll have a contact page so anyone can fill out a form and easily connect with you directly from within your website. So this is what we're headed toward in this video. We're going to be creating this awesome business WordPress website using the free WordPress business theme called Sydney. Let's get started. So to get started, how much is this website going to cost? Well, we need several things. Number one, we need a domain name and we need web hosting. In this video, I'm going to be using HostGator for both the domain name and the web hosting. And I'm going to be using a special coupon code at HostGator to get an extra amount off of my order. So if you'd like to go with HostGator, feel free to use either one of these coupons to get an extra discount on your order as well. The best coupon to use if you want to sign up for 6 months or more of web hosting is WP Coupon 25. And if you prefer to go month to month with your web hosting, the best coupon to use is 1 month bonus. I do want to note I do receive a small referral from HostGator when you use either of my coupons. So thank you so much in advance for your support in helping me to continue to create these free WordPress training videos. Once we have the domain name and the web hosting, next up we need a theme. And in this video, we're going to be using the free WordPress business theme called Sydney. So I will show you where to get that and how to set that up in this video. And once we have the theme, the next thing we'll need is some time to watch the video and build out the website. So I'm expecting that the video should take roughly about 2 hours. So please set aside at least 2 hours to watch the video. Okay, so once we have all these things, the total to get started with this website is less than $25. And again, that's using either coupon code WP Coupon 25 or coupon code 1 month bonus. And again, that's at HostGator.com. Okay, so what are the steps to build out this website? Number one, we need to get a domain name and the web hosting. Step two, we need to install WordPress. And step three, we need to build out the website. So let's take care of step number one, getting the domain name and the web hosting by heading over to HostGator.com. Here on HostGator.com, to sign up for web hosting, you'll see that right underneath this powerful web hosting section, there's a big yellow button that says Get Started Now. So I'm going to click on that, and that will bring us to the various plans offered by HostGator. So when I scroll to the bottom here, you can see the 3 different plans. There's a hatchling plan, baby plan, and a business plan. If you're just getting started with your website, most likely you could either use the hatchling plan or the baby plan. The main difference between these two is that with the hatchling plan, you can only host one single domain, whereas with the baby plan, you can host an unlimited number of domains. I usually go with the baby plan. This is the one that I'm currently using because I have a number of different website domains. But if you only have one domain, most likely you can just use the hatchling plan. I'm going to go with the baby plan though because that is the best value and that's the one I'm currently using. So I'm just going to click on this button here that says Sign Up Now under the baby plan. Then at the top, you can either register a new domain, or if you already have a domain, you can click on this tab. I'm going to register a new domain by just putting something super random in this box. And then when I go to scroll down, we'll see that of course it's available because this domain is super random, but we're just going to go with that for the sake or purpose of this demo. So once you have your domain name entered, then you just want to scroll down. You want to choose which hosting plan that you'd like. Again, I chose the baby plan, but if you only have one single domain, you can go with the hatchling plan and save some money. So with the baby plan, then next up, we can choose what kind of billing cycle we want. So the more months you sign up for, the more of a discount you'll get. So I'll show you a couple different ones. When I click on 6 months at a time, then you want to add your username, add a security PIN, and then scroll down. Then you want to add your billing info right here. Then moving forward, we have additional services, and these are checked by default. However, they are optional. You don't need to get them. So I'm going to unselect these for the moment, unselect all those. Then I'm going to come down and here where it says enter a coupon code, by default you get this snappy coupon code. We can see here's a total right here, $70, but I have a better coupon for you if you'd like to save some money, and who doesn't want to do that? So if you put in WP Coupon 25 and then validate it, you'll see it'll go from $70 to $54. So you'll save quite a bit of money when you use coupon code WPCoupon25. Now, if you'd like to sign up for only 1 month of web hosting at a time, then you can just change the billing cycle here to 1 month. And then there's another coupon that would actually be better if you're only signing up for 1 month at a time, and that is coupon code 1 month bonus. So when I add 1 month bonus in here and click on validate, then we'll see it drops to about $13. So either way, if you want to use 1 month bonus or the other coupon, WP Coupon 25, you can definitely save some money on your order for web hosting and your domain name. Now I want to circle back because when we go up here, these default additional services, there's one specifically I want to mention, and that's the privacy protection for roughly about $10 a year. So this is really important. I add this to all of my website domains because essentially what this does is it keeps your private info off the internet. For example, when you sign up for web hosting at any kind of web hosting provider, there's a database and people can find out things like who owns the website, the name of the person who owns the website, the email address, the phone number, and the address. So I like to keep all of my private information private, not in a public domain, public database on the web. So I always invest in this privacy protection for $10 a year. So I'm just going to click on that. That one's really important. So now when we scroll down to the bottom to review the details of our order, we can see that our total to get started with this website with privacy domain protection is less than $25. Okay, so once you review the details here, your order details, then you just want to scroll down, click on this agree to terms of service box right there, and then you want to click on the checkout now button to check out. So once you click on create your account, you'll get this page which will thank you for your order and will tell you to go check your email for information related to logging into your web hosting account. So I'm going to go check out my email. And here we see on my email account, here's the email from HostGator with my account info. So I'm going to click this email to open it, and I want to point out two things. Number one, the first link that they'll share with you in the email is the billing system link. So if you want to check out any info related to your billing, you can go ahead and click on this link and use the password that they give you. And then right below that, you'll see that there's a link for your control panel with your username and a temporary password. So I'm going to copy this password here, the temporary password, and to log into your control panel, you'll use this link. So this is a really good email to keep in a safe place for future reference because you will be needing this information as well as the link to the control panel to log into your HostGator web hosting account. So I'm going to click on this link here, and then here is my username. You want to type in your username here that was found in the email, and then you want to add your password right here as well. Once you have that set up, you want to click on login to log into the control panel of your web hosting account. So here we are in the control panel of our HostGator account. To install WordPress, which is step number 2, we need to scroll down to the bottom, and here where it says Services, Software and Services, we want to click on this button here that says Quick Install. Once we click on Quick Install, then we want to go to the left-hand side, and here where it says WordPress, we want to click on WordPress. Once we click on WordPress, then we'll see this Install WordPress for Free section, and then we want to click on this button that says Install WordPress. And then here we want to fill out the form to get started with our install. So you just want to choose which website you need right here. And once you filled out the form, then you can click on this button here to install WordPress. Once your WordPress installation is complete, you'll get a message at the top here that says your install is complete. Click here to view your notifications, and you can also view your credentials. So then I'm just going to click on this little caret here to view my credentials, and here we can see I can go directly to the admin area by clicking on this link here, and here's my username and my password. So you just want to copy your password, highlight and copy it, click on this link, and then you can log into your new WordPress website. So here we are on the dashboard. This is the first thing you'll see when you log into your WordPress website, and when you first install WordPress, you'll also see this message at the top that says Welcome to WordPress with a number of links to get you started. So I'm going to be going over each of these things within this video, so I'm not going to look at these now. Instead, I'm just going to dismiss this message by clicking on this X right here at the top that says Dismiss. Here we'll see a number of different sections that you can at a glance see what is going on within your website. We have at a glance, one post, that's what comes with your WordPress installation, activity, your quick draft, and news, and you can move any of these around if you'd like to kind of like reorder them, whatever works best for you, whatever view you would like to see. Also note that at the top we have the Screen Options tab, which when I click on it, if you want to see that welcome message once again, you can do so by simply clicking on this X. So these are, or if you'd like to just turn off any of these different sections, you can also do so by simply unchecking each of the boxes, and one by one they will disappear from your dashboard. So I'm going to leave at a glance, activity, and quick draft up. I'll leave the WordPress news as well. Then I'm just going to close this tab by clicking on Screen Options. Okay, so now let's take a look at what our website looks like right when we first install WordPress. So to visit your site, you're going to go up to the top left-hand corner, hover over your website name, and click on Visit Site. And here we see, voila, this is what our website looks like when we first install WordPress using the 2015 theme. It actually looks really nice and clean just to get started. And I do have a video on this theme if you'd like to use the 2015 theme. But in this video, I should say, we're going to be using a different theme so that when we're done, our website will look like this instead. So this is our end result that we're headed toward, and we can see there's quite a bit of work to do, but we're going to cover all of that in this video so that by the time we're done this video, our website is going to look just like this. Okay, so step number one, going back to our dashboard, the first thing that we need to do is we need to install the new theme called Sydney. So I'm going to go to Appearance, hover over Appearance, and click on Themes. Then here we can see 2015 theme is the theme that is currently installed. To add a new theme, you're going to click on this link right here that says Add New. Then here we'll see the WordPress library of themes, and you can choose any of these themes that you'd like. We're going to be using the Sydney theme though, so in the top search box right here, I'm going to do a search for Sydney. And here it is on the left-hand side, looking for a business theme. Sounds good. We can check out the details and preview it by clicking on Details and Preview. Here we can see it has 5 stars based on 47 ratings, and you can read a little bit of the content right here. So I'm just going to install this by clicking on Install, or if you want to go back, you can do so by clicking on Install right here. So I'm going to click on Install to install the Sydney theme. Okay, so once the theme has been successfully installed, then I'm going to activate it by clicking on Activate, the Activate link right there. And okay, now this theme has been activated. Awesome. Now at the top it says this theme recommends the following plugins: Page Builder by SiteOrigin and Types Custom Fields and Custom Post Types Management. So all we need to do is click on this link right here that says Begin Installing Plugins. Okay, install the required plugins. Now we need to check them. So I'm going to click on this button here to select both of these different plugins. Then where it says Bulk Actions, I'm going to click on that and then click on the Install link right there. Then I'm going to finish this by clicking on Apply. Okay, so once the installations have been completed, you'll see this note right here letting you know that those installations have been completed. Next, we're going to return to the Require Plugins installer by clicking on this link down below. We've got one more thing to do. Now we need to actually activate these plugins because we can see here that the status is installed but not activated. So I'm going to select them one more time, click on Bulk Actions, and now we see there's another link here that says Activate. So I'm going to click on Activate, then click on Apply to complete the installation and activation of these 2 essential plugins for this theme. Okay, the following plugins were successfully activated. Awesome. So once these 2 plugins have been installed and activated, the next step is we need to go back to our dashboard by clicking on Dashboard here on the left-hand side. So here I am on my dashboard. Whenever I'm getting a new website up and running, I always like to create a child theme so that I can create customizations to my website and not worry that future updates to the parent theme will override any of my customizations. So for example, when I go down to Appearance, hover over Appearance and click on Themes, here we see that the Sydney theme, which we just installed and activate, is now the active theme, which is exactly what we want. However, what would be better would be to have a child theme of the Sydney theme so that we can make changes to the child theme, and then when the developer of the Sydney theme comes out with updates, we can safely update the Sydney theme and have the peace of mind that goes along with knowing that our changes, our customizations, will not be overwritten by developer updates to the main theme. So next up, we're going to add a child theme to our WordPress website using the Child Themify plugin. So I'm going to come to the bottom, click on Plugins, click on Add New. Then here on the right-hand side where it says Search for Plugins, we can search for this in the WordPress plugin library. Here we go, Child Themify. I've used this many times. So here we have the Child Themify plugin on the left-hand side. As it notes, it has 10,000 active installs with close to a 5-star out of 5-star rating, which is awesome. So I'm going to click on Install Now to install the Child Themify plugin. Once the plugin has been successfully installed, I'm going to activate it by clicking on Activate Plugin, and then we're going to go back to our themes. Here we see that the plugin has been activated and it's listed down below in our plugins list. So we're going to go to our theme once again, hover over Appearance and click on Themes. Now when I click on Theme Details for the Cine theme, here on the bottom right hand corner or bottom row right here, it says Create a Child Theme. So I'm going to click on this button here, and then I'm going to give my new child theme a name. I'll call it Child-Sydney. All one word with a dash in the middle. You can call it whatever you'd like, simply child if you like. Then I'm just going to click on Let's Go to create the child theme. Okay, the child theme was created successfully. Super. So now I'm going to click on Themes to check it out, Appearance, and then Themes. And now on the right hand side we see we have a duplicate of the Sydney theme right here, but this one says Child Sydney. So this is the child theme that we want to activate instead. So I'm going to click on Activate to activate our new child theme. Okay, voila, it's that simple. We've just created a child theme, so now we can safely make any customizations to this theme. Okay, so moving forward, next up I'm going to make some general changes to our settings down below. So here on the left hand sidebar, I'm going to scroll down to Settings, hover over Settings, and click on General. Here at the top, you want to give your website a site title as well as a tagline. So I've added mine here, Katrina Yoga, outdoor yoga for everybody. So this will be a website for my yoga business. So there you want to add your title and tagline. Then you want to scroll to the bottom and click on Save Changes to save your changes. Once the general settings have been saved, then on the left-hand side, we're going to go down each of these, well, most of them at least, click on Writing. There are a few changes that I want to make here. Starting with the formatting at the top. If you'd like to convert the emoticons to graphics, you could do so by just leaving this checked. Here where it says WordPress should correct invalidly nested XHTML automatically, and that is really a lot of geek speak right there, and we don't really need to go over what that is. However, I do want to check this box because it sounds like a really good idea that WordPress corrects anything that's invalid. So I'm going to click on that, go to the bottom, and click on Save. The other thing I want to note here on this page now that I see it is that here, this Update Services box right here will notify Google and all of the other different services when your site is updated. So it's a good thing to click on this link here that says Update Services. Then you want to go to the WordPress.org codex here, just scroll to the bottom. I like to highlight all of these things, all of these ping services, highlight them and copy them. Then I'm going to go back to my website, and then here where it says Update Services, I'm going to paste in all of those services down below. Here we can see them when I open the box a little bit bigger. Here it says, when you publish a new blog post, WordPress automatically notifies the following sites about your updates. So this is really helpful to have your content get viewed by as many places as possible. So I'm going to add all those in here in this box and click on Save Changes to save my changes. Okay, next clicking on Reading here on the right hand side, the reading settings. Here on reading settings, I just want to point out one really important option that we have at the bottom called Search Engine Visibility. Here we can check this box to discourage search engines from indexing the site, and usually when I'm creating a website behind the scenes and the site is not yet online, I usually do start by clicking on this box and then clicking on Save Changes. However, if you're concerned that you may forget later down the road to come back here and uncheck this, then you can just leave it unchecked and click on Save Changes. So it's really up to you, but mainly when your website is online, you definitely want to make sure that this is not checked, because if it's not checked, then search engines will not index your site. So I guess just to be safe, I'll leave it unchecked for now and click on Save Changes. Then the other thing that I really want to point out here in the settings panel, I'm going to jump down to permalinks. This is something we definitely should check and change. So usually by default, when you first install WordPress, it's on the default permalink settings, which gives this really funny URL with a number, and it doesn't really make sense to people or search engines. So I always come to the permalink settings when I'm starting to create a website. And the first thing that I do is I click on the post name here. You can choose any of the other ones, but I prefer post name, which will give us a more descriptive URL, which search engines will understand what your URL, what the page is about, as well as your audience. So I'm going to click on post name, scroll to the bottom, and click on Save Changes. Once the permalink settings have been set, next up we can begin the fun part, which is setting up our website using the Sydney theme and making our own customizations. So let's take a quick look at what the theme looks like right out of the box when we first install it. To do that, I'm going to go up to the top, hover over my website name, and click on Visit Site. Here we can see what the theme looks like when we first install it. Know that there's this default image that rotates, a title, and then the call to action. And then below this section, there is the blog archive page. So of course we're going to be adding a number of different homepage sections here that are going to look something like this. Jumping over to our finished site over here, we see I have my own custom image, and then we have these various sections here. So let's go ahead and make the first change to the site to get this started, which is we need to set the front page as well as our blog page so that the blog archives are not being displayed down below. So okay, to do that, I'm going to go back to the dashboard, and the first thing that I want to do is I want to go to Pages, hover over Pages, and click on Add New. You can also create a new page by going up to the top, hovering over plus new in the top toolbar, and also clicking on Page right here. Then here for the Add New Page, the page that I want to create is the home page, so I'll just call it Home. And then on the right hand side where it says Page Attributes, I'm going to click on this, and I want to use the front page template, so I'm going to click on Front Page. And then I want to turn off any comments just in case those are there. So I'm going to click on Screen Options, click on Discussion. This will display the discussion options. Then I'll click on Screen Options to close that box, scroll to the bottom, and here I'm going to uncheck these to disable comments from the front page. Then I'm just going to click on Publish to publish the home page. Okay, once the home page has been created, next up we need to create the blog page. So just like we did with the home page, I'm going to click on this Add New button once again to create a new page. And this time I'm going to be creating the blog page, so I'll just call it Blog. And then on the right hand side for Page Attributes, this time I'm going to leave it as the default template right here. So I might come back to this later, but for the moment I'll call it the default template. And also for this one, I do not want comments showing up on the blog archive page. We will have comments on the actual blog posts themselves, the individual blog posts, but for the archive page I prefer not to have any comments. So I uncheck those. Then I'm going to click on Publish to publish the blog page. Okay, now that we have these two pages created, we need to set them within the theme settings. So I'm going to go to Settings, then I'm going to click on Reading, and here where it says the front page displays, I'm going to click on Static Page right here, and then for the front page I'm going to set the home page as the front page, and for the posts I'm going to set the blog page as the post page. Then I'm going to scroll to the bottom and click on Save Changes to save my changes. So now when we go to the home page, by going up to the top and clicking on Visit Site, now we'll see that all we have is the image, and we can see that that big white blog archive section is no longer there. So that looks really good. Actually, if we add a menu, you could almost just have this as your main home page. But we're going to be adding those various sections, as noted, all these different sections down here below. Okay, so next up, let's create some pages so we can create a menu for our website. So going back to the dashboard, I'm going to click the back button. Here on the dashboard, I'm just going to click on that. Here on the dashboard, I'm going to create 3 different pages: an About page, a Contact page, and a Services page. So as we did in the previous step, creating the blog and the home page, once again, we can go up to the top, hover over plus new and click on Page, or on the left-hand side, we can hover over Pages and click on Add New. So WordPress gives us a number of different ways to do exactly the same thing. Here on our new page, we want to give our page a title. So the first one I'll do is the About page. So I'll just add About right there. Then here in the white box, you can just add the content for your About page. There's 3 different tabs here. There's a visual tab, text tab, and a page builder tab. I'll go over the page builder a little bit later, but right now I just want to focus on the visual tab and the text tab. The visual tab is the what you see is what you get view of WordPress, and this is really helpful if you don't know HTML or you just simply don't want to use it, which I prefer just simply to work within the visual tab because this is just like a Word document. You can just add your text in here and then you can use all these different icons to format it for you. So when I click on this icon at the end, the toolbar toggle, note that it opens up another line of different options for formatting. So this is really helpful. The text tab will be the behind the scenes code that WordPress is generating to format your content. So here in the visual tab, I'm just going to add some content right in here for my about page. And then I also want to add an image on this particular page. So I'm going to place the cursor where I want the image to be displayed. Then I'm going to click on Add Media. Next up here on the Insert Media screen, we have our Upload Files tab as well as our Media Library tab. So we haven't added any images yet, so we don't have any images in our library yet. That's okay. So what we need to do is we need to upload some files. So I'm going to click on Upload Files, then I'm going to select the file. Here's the folder that I need, here's the image that I want, this one right here. Then I'm just going to click on Open to open this image and upload it to WordPress. Once it has been uploaded, you'll see the attachment details on the right-hand side, the dimensions, the title of the image, as well as a lot of metadata here. Now, it's really important whenever you are adding an image to your WordPress website, you always want to make sure you give your image at least a title and an alternative text. This is helpful both for people who are viewing your website, and if anything happens and they're not able to see the image, at least they'll know what it's about. And for anyone who is using text-to-speech software, they'll also be able to know what the image is about. Finally, Google and search engines in general cannot really read what an image is about unless there is metadata to go along with it. So for search engines, it's important to have a title and alternative text as well. Once you've added a title and alternative text, we can scroll to the bottom, and here we have the attachment display settings. And the alignment for this image, I want to have this right aligned, so I'll click on right. I want to link this to nothing, so I'm just going to click on none, and then we can choose the size of the image that we like. I want to use the full size, which is 300 pixels wide and 354 pixels tall. Then when we have all our settings set the way we like, we can click on Insert into Page to insert the image into our page. Okay, so now that we have the content ready to go, we need to look on the right-hand side at the page attributes, and this time we want the template to be a full width page. Of course, choose whatever kind of page you'd like, but for the About page, I do not want a sidebar, so I prefer the full width, so I will keep it as that. Full width template. Then I'm going to scroll to the bottom, and once again on my pages I prefer not to have any conversation. I like to keep conversation on the blog posts but not on my static pages. So I'm going to uncheck them here. Then I'm just going to go up to the top and click on Publish to publish my new page. Once the About page has been created, next up we can create our services page. So once again I'm going to click on Add New to create a new page. And this page I'm going to call Classes because I'm going to be offering yoga classes. So I'll just title it Classes right here. Once you have the title set, as we did previously, we can add our content in this white box. I'm just going to drop my content in here. And I'm going to format the titles by highlighting them. And then I'm going to click on Paragraph. And instead, I'm going to give it a heading 3 tag. So that is how you format it. It's really simple, really great with WordPress. You don't need to know any code. You can just use the what you see is what you get visual editor here, and that will create the code for you. So once again, header 3, and then just to show you the text tab, when I click on text, here we can see the HTML that WordPress is generating behind the scenes to format this particular title. So if you'd like to learn HTML, this is a really easy way to go about familiarizing yourself with HTML by simply formatting things here within the visual tab and then hopping over to the text tab and seeing what WordPress does behind the scenes. Okay, I prefer to work within the visual tab, so I'm going to go back to the visual tab, and then once again I want to add an image at the bottom of the page, so I'm going to place my cursor where I want the image to be displayed, and then I'm going to go up to the top here and I'm going to click on Add Media to add another image to my site. So I'm going to click on Upload Files, Select Files. Then I'm going to select the file that I want and click on Open to upload the image to WordPress. As we did with the first image, I also want to add a title and an alternative text to my image so that Google and search engines and anyone who cannot read or see exactly what the image is, they will understand what this image is. Once you've added a title and an alternative text, we can scroll to the bottom, and again for the attachment display settings, this time I want to center align this, so I'm going to click on Center Alignment. I want to link it to nothing, so I'll click on None, and I want the full size, which is 827 pixels wide and 827 pixels tall. Then I'm going to click on Insert into Page to insert this into the page. And there we have it. Okay, on the right hand side, because once again this is a page, this is our classes page, similar to the About page, I do not want a sidebar, so I'm going to use the full width template. And I also don't want any comments on the page, so I'm going to disable them by unchecking them right here. Go to the top and click on Publish to publish my services and classes page. Okay, last page that we want to create is our contact page. So I'm going to click on Add New, then I'll call this Contact. And we're going to come back to this a little bit later because we need to add a plugin for our contact page. So I'll just create this right now as a placeholder. And as we did with the other two pages, I do not want a sidebar, so I'll click on full width. And I know for now, at least, I don't want any comments either because this is going to be a contact form. So I'll uncheck these two discussion options right here. Go to the top and click on Publish to publish the contact page. Again, we're going to come back to this because we don't really have a form here yet, but once we add that plugin a little bit later in the video, we will update this page. So now that we have our 3 pages created, the next step is we can create our menu for our navigation area on the top right-hand side of our website. So to create a menu, we want to go to the left-hand sidebar, hover over Appearance, and click on Menus. And here on the Menus page, we can create a new menu by either clicking on this link here that says Create a New Menu, or we can click on this blue button that says Create a Menu. So I'm going to just call this Menu, take out the number 1. Then I'll click on Create Menu to create my menu. And once the menu has been created, then we need to add different pages to our menu. So all the pages are here on the left-hand side, and you may see the pages as well populated in this structure here. I want to remove the home page, so I'm going to click on this caret to drop it down and click on Remove. And I don't know why it's showing up twice, but I'll remove it there as well. And okay, I have my 4 pages. If you have additional pages you'd like to add, you can simply click on View All or Most Recent, either one, and then you can click on the page you want to add and then click on this button here that says Add to Menu. Okay, so I want to remove the Home button though, the Home menu link, because the logo will be its own return to the home page. So I don't think we need to have this additional one. Of course, if you like it, go ahead and keep it here as well. It never hurts to have it twice, but for simplicity, I'm going to remove it, and then I'm going to order these by simply dragging them around where I want them to be displayed. So I'll have Classes first, Blog, About, and then Contact. Then down below here where it says Menu Settings, you want to make sure that you click on this link here to set the location to the primary menu. Then you can click on this button here that says Save Menu to save your menu. Also note at the top there's this Manage Locations tab, and when I click on that, here we can see that the location that I just set in the previous panel can also be found here as well. So we see primary menu, and then here you can choose the menu that you like and click on Save Changes. Okay, now that we have our menu set, let's go ahead and take a look at it by going back to our website, by going up to the top, hovering over the website name, and clicking on Visit Site. Here on our website, we can see our title and tagline, and on the right-hand side, here we have our navigation. Awesome. So next up, we need to change this image to our own image, as well as the title and the call to action button. And I also want to add my logo here to replace the title and the tagline right here. So going back to the dashboard, first up, we will change the logo, and then we'll change the image. So going back to the dashboard, I'm going to go down to Appearance, hover over Appearance, and click on Customize. Here on the Customize page, this is where all the fun begins because this is where we can change the images on our home page and our internal pages. So first up, we have our General tab. I'm going to click on that. This is where you can add a favicon to your website, a customized favicon. A favicon is, I'm going to pop on over to Google right here as we see the Google. We have favicon. Wikipedia says it is a shortcut icon, a website icon. It's a file containing one or small, let's see what it says here, icons, most commonly 16 by 16 pixels associated with a particular web page. So this particular favicon will follow your website all around the web. You'll see it in places like YouTube. For example, here we see that I have my favicon, which actually this is the default favicon that came with my theme, so it looks like I have to customize this myself. So anyway, but we see this little black G, that's a favicon. So in order to change your favicon, you're going to need to create one. There's lots of resources on the web that will show you and guide you in how to adding a favicon to your website. So I'll drop a couple links down below to guide you. This one is really good, how to add a favicon to your website. And then there's lots of different generators, as you can see here, favicon.ico, favicon-generator, there's all kinds of generators. So I'm not going to go over that in this video, but I will drop some resources down below so you can check them out. Once you have your favicon, you can go back to the customize setting and you can upload it by clicking on select image and uploading your favicon. Okay, moving forward, I'm going to go to the site title, tagline, and logo. Here when I open this, we have my title, my tagline, and I need to upload my logo. So I'm going to click on select image. Then I'm going to click on Upload Files and select Files. And here is my logo, yoga-logo, and I'm going to click on Open. And as we did in the previous two images, we need to make sure that we give our new image a title and an alternative text. So once you've added the title and alternative text, go ahead and click on Choose Image to choose your image. Then back on the Customizer panel, we need to save our changes by clicking on this blue button at the top that says Save and Publish. Okay, so once the changes have been saved, I'm going to close this panel here by clicking on this caret and moving on to the header area. This is where we can change the image on our home page and our internal page. So I'm going to click on header area. At the top, we need to decide what kind of header type we like. With the Sydney theme, we have a number of different options, which is really awesome. We have the front page header type. Select the header type for your front page. You can have a full screen slider with a call to action, a title, and a tagline, or you can have simply an image. I'm going to click on that to show you what that looks like, just a static image. Or if you don't want any image or any slider at all, you can simply have no header with only the menu. So choose the one that you like. In this video, I'm going to be creating a full screen slider, so I'm going to click on that. And then moving on to the site header type, here it says select the header type for all the pages except the front page. So for your internal pages, you can also have the same things, either a slider, an image, or no header. So for the internal pages for this demo, I'm going to be including a static image. So I'm going to click on image right here and going to the demo, the one that's already done, I'm going to pop over there. This is what it's going to look like. This is the internal page with a static image, and then of course we go to the home page, and here we have the slider with a call to action. So going back to our customized panel here for the site header type for internal pages, I'm going to choose image. Go ahead and feel free to add whatever you'd like. Then I'm going to click on Save Changes to save my changes, and I'm going to close this. So next we want to go to the header slider. So I'm going to open that. As it notes, you can add up to 5 images in the slider. Make sure you select where to display your slider from the header type section found above, which we've already done. And you can also add a call to action button at the bottom of this settings area right here. Also note that if you are using a slider, you can set the speed. Personally, I don't like all this movement happening. It's a little bit distracting, but that's just my personal preference. So I'm going to make this slider speed really, really slow so that almost it deactivates the slider. I'm going to make it like so many seconds. So, but of course, if you prefer to keep the slider rolling as it is right here, maybe the default is 4,000, so you can leave it at 4,000. Okay, so once we set the slider, the full slider speed, next up we can also set the text slider speed. So by default it's 4,000. I'm going to leave it as 4,000. Then note there's a small little option here. If you want to stop the text slider altogether, you can do so by clicking on this box here. I'm going to click on that because, as mentioned, I prefer not having a lot of movement on my page, so I'm going to deactivate it by clicking on this box. But of course, feel free to choose whatever you would like. Then coming down here at the bottom, we want to give our first slide a title as well as a subtitle. So I'm going to pop in my title right there as well as a subtitle. So my title is going to be Outdoor Yoga for Everybody, and the subtitle will be Join us at the beach or at the park for daily yoga. So once I have my title and subtitle, next up we need to change the image itself. Before I do so though, I'm going to click on Save to save the changes I've created so far. So then I want to change this image, so I'm going to click on this button here that says Change Image. Then I'm going to click on Upload Files to upload my file, and then select Files, and then I'm going to select my files and upload it to WordPress. So once the image has been uploaded, on the right hand side you'll have your attachment details, and here we will add of course our title as well as our alternative text. Also keep in mind that the dimensions for this image, the best image dimensions for the slider, are 1920 pixels wide and 1080 pixels tall. So it's important to make sure you have the dimensions right so that it displays correctly within the slider. Once you've added the title and the alternative text, you can click on Choose Image to choose the image. Then we'll see the image that we just uploaded to our WordPress website being displayed on the right-hand side. To finish this process, of course, we need to save it by clicking on the Save and Publish button right here. So I'm going to click on that. Then if you'd like to add another image to this image slider area, as well as add a second title and subtitle, you can do so right here where it says Second Slide. We're going to do the same process that we just did up above. We're going to add a second image, a title, and a subtitle, and then we'll click on Save. So because I don't want too many images going on here, I'm going to use the same image that I've already used for the first slide. But of course, if you want to have like a variety of different images and a variety of titles and subtitles, you can customize those right here. So I'm just going to change the image by clicking on Change Image. Then I'm going to use the same image that we used for the first slider image, so I'll just choose it and then click on Choose Image, and I'm also going to have the same title and tagline. Once you've added the image, title, and subtitle for your second slide, go ahead and click on Save and Publish to save and publish your changes. So you can do this process as well for the third slide. We see there's a third slide here, a fourth slide, as well as a fifth slide. The important thing I want to note down below is here we have the call to action button, and as we can see here, the cool thing about this slider is that you have a call to action button right on the home page, front and center. So this is a really important thing to take advantage of on your home page. So I'm going to add a title for my call to action button right there. So my call to action text is learn more, and then I've dropped the URL, which is my about page, so that when someone clicks on this learn more button, they'll go directly to my about page. They can learn more about what's going on my website. Then once again, I'm going to click on Save and Publish to save and publish my changes. So once you've saved the changes to the header slider, then we can close this section by clicking on this link right here, this little caret, and we can open the next section, which is the header image section. So I'm going to click on this box right here, this little diamond, and here, or triangle I should say, and at the top it says, while you can crop images to your liking after adding the new image, your theme recommends a header size of 1920 pixels wide and 600 pixels tall. So in my experience, it's a lot better just to follow the instructions and use the dimensions that they recommend. That makes everything so much easier down the line. So I recommend that you make your cropping and do all that outside of your website here. And then when you import it or upload it, then you'll upload exactly these dimensions, 1920 by 600. So this particular header section is for the internal pages of your website. So this, of course, will not be on the home page, but it will be on all of the internal pages that you select within the internal pages of your website. So I'm going to click on Add New Image to add a new image. Then I'm going to click on Upload Files and Select Files. Then I'm going to select the file that I need, the yoga header right there, and click on open. And once the image has been uploaded to my site, we'll see it on the right hand side, I can add a title as well as an alternative text. And note that the image dimensions once again are 1920 by 600. So then I'm just going to click on select and crop. And then I'm not going to crop it because it's already been perfectly created to have the proper dimensions, 1920 by 600. So then I'm just going to click on skip cropping. And then here we will see on the left-hand side in the sidebar, now we'll see the current header, which is great. Then I'm just going to scroll down. Everything looks good. If you want to cover or contain the background size, you can do so right here. I'm going to leave it with the defaults of cover. I'm going to leave the header height as 300 for the moment. Do I want to disable the overlay? Yeah, I think I'll do that. This overlay is like a dark kind of color that kind of goes on top of the image. So if you like that look, go ahead and leave it disabled or unchecked. I am going to check it though because I want to turn off the overlay that goes on top of this. So you can experiment and see which way you would prefer. I'm going to check that to disable it on my demo right here. Then I'm going to click on Save and Publish to save and publish my changes. Once the changes have been saved, then I'm just going to go up to the top and close the header image section by clicking on this caret, this diamond, one more time. And last up in this section, we have our menu style. So I'm going to open up this box. I'm going to leave the defaults, the sticky menu and the inline menu. If you'd like to center the menu and the logo, you can click on this button right here. And if you do not want the menu to stick at the top of the page when someone scrolls, then you can click on the static button right here. I prefer the sticky menu so the menu is always visible no matter where my viewer is on the page. So I'll leave it like that and click on Save right here. Actually, it looks like it's already saved, so we're good to go. Then I'm going to go back one page by clicking on this little caret right here, this arrow, to go back to the other settings within the Customize panel. So in this demo, those are the main changes we're going to make within this Customize panel. Of course, there's more changes that you can make if you want to change the blog options, the fonts, the footers, the colors. You can go and do so by just opening up each of these different boxes and customizing each section. When we look at blog options, for example, though, I'm going to click on that. Here we see that we have the classic layout. I'm going to go with that. That's the right-hand sidebar. Then if you'd like to change or customize the content and the excerpts, you can do so. So if you want to display the full content of your posts on the home page, you can do so by clicking this. If you'd like to display the full content of your posts on all archives, you can do so by clicking this. And here we have the excerpt length, 55 words, or 55, I should say, letters. Then we have all of this stuff down below. Do you want to hide the post meta? Yeah, I think I will hide the post meta actually. Hide the post meta on singles? Sure, I'll do that too. The post metadata refers to things like the date that the post was published and the author, tags, and categories. So if you don't want that extra info showing up on the archives or on the single blog post, you can hide them by clicking on these two buttons. I prefer to hide them because it keeps the content a little bit more evergreen, a little bit more relevant. Sometimes when people see that the date was like 2 years ago, they might think that the content is no longer relevant, but a lot of times the content still is relevant. So I like to remove the dates from my blog post. So go ahead and do so if you'd like to do so as well by clicking on these boxes. Or if you prefer to show the date and the author and the tags and the categories, you can leave these unchecked. So that's pretty much the only change I'm going to make to this blog options section. Then I'll just click on Save and Publish to save and publish my changes. Then I'll close this, and then note that if you'd like to change the fonts, you can do so by clicking on this. Here you can add any kind of Google Fonts, and you can see what kind of fonts you can add by going to google.com/fonts. There's a little directions here at the top. Google Fonts can be found here, google.com/fonts. And if you need help with this Google font thing, you can see the documentation at this link right here. Also, if you'd like to change the font sizes of the titles, descriptions, any of the header sizes, you can do so by changing these sizes here in this box, coming up to the top and clicking on Save and Publish. Okay, to look at a few other things here in this Customize panel, we have the footer section. If you'd like to select the number of widget areas that you'd like to have displayed within the footer, you can do so. I want 2 footer areas only. So I am going to click on To. Then I'll click on Save and Publish. Then if you'd like to change the colors to match your brand, you can do so by changing all the colors here. As you can see, when I click on this select color, it gives me this color wheel, and I can just move it around and I can choose whatever color works best with my brand. I'm going to keep a white background color though, so it's really clean. So I'll just keep it as white. Click on Save and Publish to publish that change. And here you can just see all the other stuff that you can change the color of. Okay, moving on from colors, then we have a background image if you'd like to add that. There's some theme info, so if you'd like to check out what is going on in the Pro version or Premium version of the Sydney theme, you can click on this link right here. Okay, then we have navigation. I prefer to deal with navigation within the menus section on the dashboard, so I'll show you that in just a moment. But as it notes here, this theme supports one menu, so select which menu you would like to use. You can also edit your menu content on the menu screen in the appearance section, and this is on the dashboard. That's how I like to adjust my own menu. But I just want to point out that it's also available if you'd like to change it here. Okay, next up we have our widgets section, so I'm going to open that up, and here we can adjust add, I should say, the widgets to our footer section. I also prefer to deal with this on the dashboard, so I'm going to circle back on this in just a moment. Then going back to the last thing on our list here, I'm going to click on back. Going to the very bottom, here we have the static front page, and we have already gone over this because we have set this as a static page earlier in this video so that the front page is the home page and the post page is the blog archive page. Okay, once you've added all of your customizations, just make sure that this says saved. If it doesn't, click on the Save and Publish box. Then we can close this all out by clicking on this X right here to go back to the WordPress dashboard. So back on our WordPress dashboard, let's take a look at what our website looks like now that we've added our customizations to the Customize panel. So to check out the site, I'm going to go up to the top, hover over the website name, and click on Visit Site. Here we'll see the home page of our new WordPress website. We have our logo at the top, our menu items here on the top right hand side, the title, our subtitle, and our call to action, and we have our slider image here on the home page. Now when I slide to the bottom or scroll down, we'll see that we don't have any of the home page sections yet, nor do we have the footer section. So let's start by adding the footer widgets at the bottom to add the footer to our home page and to the other pages throughout our website. So to add the footer widgets to the bottom of our site, we want to go back to the dashboard. Then we want to go down to Appearance, hover over Appearance, and click on Widgets. Here on the right-hand side, we'll see a number of different widget areas. We have the sidebar widget area, and this refers to the sidebar of the blog post page. So we will adjust those in just a moment. And then down below we see the two footer widgets that we've added. Now note that in the Customize panel we selected a footer widget with only two widget areas. If you'd like to have more than two widget areas, then you would customize that by going to the Customize link right here and clicking on the footer, and then you can add more widgets to your footer. So we have two widget areas, so I'm just going to open these up by clicking that right there. And I'll open this one up as well. In the second footer area, I want to add some social icons. So I'm going to scroll to the bottom here and find the widget related to the social icons. Now note on the left-hand side, we have all of these different widget areas, and these are specifically related to our theme, the Sydney theme, and those are noted with Sydney right before the title of the widget. So the one that I want is a social profile or social icons one. So here we see it as right here, Sydney social profile. Display your social profile on your front page. So I'm just going to drag this to the footer 2 area and drop it right there. Note that here we can add a title if we like. I'm not going to leave a title, I'm going to leave it blank. And then we need to create a menu with our social links, and then once that menu is created, we can come here and we can select our social menu. As it notes here, in order to display social icons in a widget, all you need to do is go to Appearance Menus, create a menu containing the links to your social profiles, then come back here and select it. So for the moment, I'm just going to leave this as a placeholder. Click on Save. Then I'm going to go to the Menus area on the left-hand side. Here under Appearance, I'm going to go down to Menus. and I'm going to create a new menu called social media. So I'm going to click on create a new menu. Then I'll give my menu a name. Then I'm going to click on this button that says create a menu to create the menu. And then here for the actual menu items, I'm going to scroll to the left-hand side here where it says custom links. So I'm going to open that up. And then I want to add the custom link of my social profile as well as some text for the title of the link. So for example, the first one is going to be my YouTube. So I'll just call it YouTube and I'll add my YouTube address URL right there. And then I'll just call this YouTube. Then I'm going to click on Add to Menu to add this to my social media menu. I'm going to do the same thing for Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Once you've added the social links to your menu right here, you can resort them if you'd like by simply dragging them up or down to place them in the order where you'd like to have them displayed. Then once you've added them how you'd like them right here, go ahead and click on Save Menu to save your menu. Once your social media menu has been created, then we want to go back to the widget area. So I'm going to go back to Appearance and Widgets. And now we can select the social media widget to add to the Footer 2 section. So here where it says Footer 2, I'm going to open this up, then I'm going to scroll down, and now I can select my social media menu. So I'm going to click that one right there, and then I'm going to click on Save. So once we've added our social icons to the Footer 2 section, next up we need to add some content to Footer 1. So I'm going to open this up, and here I want to add my email opt-in form to this particular area so that when we're done, it looks like, I'm going to jump over to my finished site, it looks something like this. So I want to add a call to action, sign up for yoga inspiration direct to your inbox, and I want to add an email opt-in form right here in the left-hand side, which is the Footer 1 widget area. So to add this custom email opt-in form, I'm going to be following behind the scenes another video tutorial that I've already created on my YouTube channel, and I will drop the link down below so that you can find it, but here it is. Add a custom email opt-in form to your website using WordPress and the Magic Action Box plugin. So when you watch this video will guide you step by step to show you how to create this custom email opt-in form. So behind the scenes, in the essence of time, I'm going to watch and follow the steps in this video. Then I'll see you on the other side once the email opt-in form has been created and we can add it to our Footer 1 widget area. So back on the WordPress dashboard, I have already added the Magic Action Box custom email form to my website following the steps in the video that I showed you on my YouTube channel. Now I'm going to add the email opt-in form to the Footer widgets. So to do that, I'm going to go to Appearance, hover over Appearance, and click on Widgets. Then here on the right-hand side where it says Footer 1, I'm going to open up this Footer area, and I'm going to drag the Magic Action Box widget into Footer 1 widget section. Then I'm going to choose the action box called Footer, so I'm going to select that right there and click on Save to save my changes. So now when we take a look at the website by going up to the top and clicking on Visit Site, now we'll see our footer showing up down below at the bottom of our page. Okay, so here is our email opt-in form. That looks great, and here are our social network icons. Now these are a little bit close together to one another, so I want to adjust that by changing the styling formatting for this. So to create some space between these social media icons, I'm going to be using a tool within the Google Chrome browser called Inspect Elements. So you need to be using a Google Chrome browser to follow along for this particular section. But within Google Chrome, up at the top on the right-hand side, there are these three lines. So I'm going to click on these, then I'm going to go down to More Tools, then I'm going to click on Developer Tools, and then we'll get this box that shows all the code that's being used to generate this website. So on the left-hand side, we have all the HTML that will create all the structure of the site, the layout, and how everything is kind of organized. And the right-hand side, we have all the CSS styles, and this refers to all the things that make up the appearance of the website. So what we need to do is we need to find, first of all, the HTML that's generating these social media icons. Then from there, we can change the style to create some space between these different icons. So on the left-hand side here, I'm going to drill down one by one until I find the code that's being used to generate the social media icons. So it looks like it's in this sidebar footer right here. So I'm just going to drill down one by one until I find it. We're getting a little bit closer. You can see when I click on each of these things, it does highlight the section over here, so we know we're getting closer. So it looks like this may be the section right here. So okay, so here we are right here. We can see that here we have .social-menu-widget li, this part right here, and we can see there's some padding, but this padding is crossed out. So in order to make this the priority code that's being used, I'm going to add a important tag right here. We can see when I add exclamation important, then this creates some space in between these icons, which is exactly what I would like. Now it's a little bit too far spaced out, so I'm going to reduce that. So instead of having 5 pixels and 20 pixels, I'll make it 10 pixels, and that looks a little bit nicer. So that's what I'm going to go with. Now, any code that you change here on the right-hand side, this is just kind of like a sandbox. It's not really saved on your website. So in order to save it, now I just need to highlight this code, highlight it, and copy it. Then I can close this box right here, and then I'm going to go back to my dashboard. So I'm going to click on dashboard, go down to appearance, hover over appearance, and click on editor. Once I click on editor, then I'll see the style sheet being used for our theme. And remember that earlier in this video we created a child theme. So this is what we're seeing right here, the child theme style.css. And then I just want to drop the code that I just copied in the previous step right below the @import code right here. Then after this, I'm going to close it off with a closing bracket. Note that I didn't make any changes to the display, so I can take that out because I didn't change that, I just left that. The only change I really made was to the padding, so I'm going to add that right here, and then I'm going to come to the bottom and click on Update File to update my file. Okay, so once the padding has been added and customized, then we can check out our site by going up to the top and clicking on Visit Site. And now we see when I scroll down to the bottom of the website, we have some really nice spacing going on in between these icons, so they're not so on top of one another, which is exactly what I want. Okay, so now that we have the footer section set up, the next step is we need to add all those various homepage sections here in between the slider image and the footer. So that when we're done with this part of the video, we'll have our home page so that it looks something like this. I'm going to jump over to my finished website. This is the finished website right here. And we can see underneath the slider image, we have all these different sections here on the home page. So next up, we're going to be adding all of these middle sections on the home page of our Sydney theme. Okay, so going back to our website, I'm going to go back to the dashboard. So here on the dashboard, the first step is we need to add those sections to our home page. So I'm going to go to the home page by hovering over pages and clicking on all pages. Then I'm going to go down to the home page itself, home front page. I'm going to click on edit to edit my home page. Now here on this visual editor right here, we have a visual editor, a text editor, and because earlier in this video we added the Page Builder plugin, we also have an extra tab right here called Page Builder. So this is what I'm going to be using to add those sections to the home page. So I'm going to click on Page Builder, and then as we see here, we can add a widget, a row, or a pre-built layout to get started. And if you'd like to read the documentation, you can click on this link right here. So in order to create this particular section, I'm going to jump over to the finished website here. Here we have the image slider. We've already added that. First up, I'm going to add this row with a widget inside of it, which includes my mission. So to add the row, going back to our page builder here, we can add a widget, a row, pre-built, look at our history, or a live editor. So first thing, I need to add a row. So I'm going to click on this button here that says add row. Then I'm going to create the row. Note that right now the row by default is set to 2 columns, but actually I only want 1 column, one very wide column. So I'm going to put 1 right here, 1 column. Then at the bottom, I'm going to click on this insert to insert this new row. Once a row has been inserted, then I'm going to click on it to highlight it, and now I need to add a widget to the row so we have content within the row. So once this is highlighted, then I'm going to click on Add Widget, and then we have all these different widgets that we can add to the row. So note that all the ones that start with Sydney, these are the widgets that are specific to this theme, and you can also see the Sydney theme widgets right here on the left-hand side. And then I also have just some general widgets. Now, in order to create this text right here, all I really need is a text widget. I don't really need a Sydney theme widget right now. So instead, I'm just going to choose this one, a text widget, and then there we go. Now it's in my row. Now, in order to add text to this particular text widget, I'm going to click on this button here that says Edit. Then I'm going to give it a title. I'm going to call it Our Mission. And then here in the content row, I'm going to add my mission. We promote wellness in mind, body, and spirit through outdoor yoga classes and retreats. Awesome. So that looks good so far. I'm going to save that for the moment by clicking on Done to add that. Then I'm going to click on Update to update this particular page. Now let's take a look at it. We do have some formatting stuff we need to take care of, but just to see what that looks like in a really simplified view, I'm going to go back up to the top of the website, hover over the website name, and click on Visit Site just to see what it looks like. So here we have our image slider. Then I'm going to scroll down below. It's looking okay. Of course, we've got some formatting stuff to change, but it's all right. We've got our mission here in the middle. That looks good. And then what I want to do now is I want to make this larger. I want to make this larger, and I also want to center it. And last but not least, I want to change it so it's the same color as where it says Our Mission, so that when we're done, it looks something like this. So back on our homepage, the easiest way to customize this content, especially if you're new to HTML and CSS and you don't want to actually code it yourself, is to have WordPress make the code changes for us. So in order to do that, I'm just going to highlight this content that I want to customize, highlight and copy it. Then I'm going to go back to my dashboard. And here on the dashboard, I'm going to create a post. So I'm going to hover over Post and click on Add New. Now keep in mind, this is not a post we're actually going to use. I'm simply going to use this editor in order for WordPress to create the code for me. So here in the Visual tab, I'm going to paste the content that I just copied in the previous step. Here is my mission statement right here, and because we have all of these formatting icons, we can use these and WordPress will create the code for us. So I want to center this and I want to make it a little bit larger, so I'm going to highlight everything. Then I'm going to click on Paragraph. I'll use a header 3. We'll see what that looks like. Then I'm going to align it in the center by hovering over the Align Center icon. And now we can see that WordPress has customize this content for us, so we don't need to actually know any code. Then once we have it customized the way we want, we can click on the text editor, and this is the behind the scenes code that WordPress has generated. So this is kind of a behind the back scenes kind of like way to get WordPress to create the code for us, so we don't have to actually create the code ourselves. Once you do this often enough, you'll get familiar with how the code works, and you can probably freehand do it yourself without this technique. But this is just kind of a little trick to use if you're new to coding and you want to format your text. So once you have this content customized the way that you like, go to the text editor right here, highlight and copy all of this. Then we're going to go back to our home page by going to Pages and then All Pages. Of course, it will say here, do you want to stay on this page or leave this page? We don't really need this page anymore, so I'm going to click on Leave This Page. Then I'm going to go down to the home page, click on Edit, and go to that first row that we created, this text row, and I'm going to click on Edit. Here we see that here is the mission statement without any formatting, but I'm going to highlight all that and kind of delete it, and I'm going to paste the code that I copied in the previous step from that kind of mock post that we created. So here we can see we have the HTML tags, H3, the style is text align center, and then we have the beginning of our mission statement right there, and then we have our closing HTML, which is great. Then you just want to click on Done to complete that, and last but not least, we need to update this whole page by clicking on Update. Okay, so now that we have that saved, now we can go back and check it out by going up to the top, clicking on Visit Sites, and now when we scroll down to that section, we'll see now it looks really good. We have it's all the same color, it's center aligned, and it's larger. The only other thing that I want to do actually is I want to create this so that's on two different lines, not running all like that. So I want it to actually look like this, so that after body and spirit, it kind of pushes the next line down to the second line. So in order to push the second line down, we're going to use another HTML code. So I'm going to go back to my dashboard, and here in the dashboard, I'm going to go down to the home page once again by hovering over pages, clicking on all pages. Then I'm going to go down to the home page, click on edit. We're going to go to the text row right here, hover over this widget, click on edit. And then right where I want the second line to be displayed, I'm going to place my cursor, put it on the second line, and the HTML that we need to add here is a opening bracket, BR for break, and then a closing bracket. So we want to add this tag right there. Then click on Done. Then click on Update, and that will move that second line, force it down to the second line. So now we go back to the home page by going up to the top, hovering over the website name, and clicking on Visit Site. Now we'll see when we scroll down to the first section, here we see these two lines showing up, one line after the other. Awesome. So now that we have the first section of the home page set up, next up is the second section. So hopping over to the finished site, here we see that after the mission statement, I want to create our 3 different services, and also note that this particular row is gray. So not only do we need to create another row, but we need to change the color so it's gray, add our title at the top, practice with us, and then we're going to add 3 different services with a call to action. So back on our WordPress dashboard, first up we need to add some custom post types to our website in order to add the second section to our site. There's a number of steps that we need to take in order to do that. So on the left-hand side, you'll notice that there's a types link down below, and when I hover over types, I have all the different menu items related to our custom post types. This particular option here is related to the plugin that we added earlier in the video called the Types plugin. So if you've made it this far in the video, you should have already added your Types plugin. It should be installed and activated. So when I hover over types, then I'm going to click on Getting Started, and here you'll see that you can choose what kind of site you're building. As it notes at the top, Types plugin includes a lot of features and there are many possibilities. So by selecting what kind of site you're building, you allow Types to advise you what features are needed and how to use them. So you can choose whichever you would like here. I am going to be using the blog magazine particular option. So I'm going to click on blog magazine, click on continue, and this will just give this particular plugin some idea what kind of site I'm building so it can guide me in what kind of custom post types I may need. So I'm just going to add that for future reference, but then I'm just going to move forward, and then underneath types there's another settings tab here. I'm going to click on settings, and this is the important part. When I scroll to the bottom of the custom post type settings page, you'll note that there's a link here that says import export. This is what we need in order to import the custom post types that have already been given to us by the theme developer. So I'm going to click on import export. This is going to save us a lot of time in this particular website, and here you can see it says import types data file. So we need to go to the theme developer's website, the documentation for the site. So I'm going to hop on over to this particular theme, and here we can see there's a link that says importing the settings file. So when I click on that, there's a quick video here, but more importantly, this is the link that we need right here. It says import the settings file for types. This will create custom post types for your services, employees, testimonials, clients, and projects. Then you can go to types, import, export, and you can upload this file. So we have already gone to this particular link right here. We're ready to go. All we need is the file in order to import it. So hopping over to the developer site here, I'm going to download this by clicking on this link right here, and this will download the custom post types settings file to my website. We can see here it is down below right here, and then all I need is to import it to my WordPress website. So I'm going to click on that, then I'm going to click on choose file, then I'm going to find the Sydney settings file, and then I'm going to click on open to open this file, and once the file is listed right here, then I'm going to click on this button right here that says import file to import the custom post types from my computer. Okay, all these things are the general default settings. I'm going to leave all of these intact. I'm not going to touch any of them. I'm just going to scroll to the bottom and click on import to import all of these settings. Wonderful. So once all of these settings have been imported, you're going to see a lot of additional options here on the left-hand sidebar, including services, employees, testimonials, clients, and projects. These are all different options that you can add to the home section on the home page of your website using the Sydney theme. So, okay, next up we need to add our 3 services. So I'm going to click on Services All Items right here. And first up, I'm going to add a new service by clicking on the button at the top that says Add New. Here on the Add New Service page, first up I need to give my new service a title. So I'm going to call this Yoga Retreats. And then you want to add some text related to this particular service. So I'll just add a short sentence right here. Then I'm going to scroll down and I want to add a service icon. So here, as an example, we're going to be using Font Awesome, and the full list of icons is located here. When I click on this link, it'll open up a page for Font Awesome with a cheat sheet, where here I can see all the different icons that I can use. So the one that I want is the heart icon, actually. So it looks like here it is right here, FA-heart. So this is the one that I'm going to use. So I'm just going to highlight and copy that. Then I'm going to go back to my services page, and here I'm just going to drop the icon that I would like right here. Then I'm going to click on Publish, but actually I remembered before I click on Publish, I also need to add a services link so that when someone does click on this particular call to action, they'll go to a specific page. So because this particular service is related to retreats, then I want to add a service link related to a retreats page. I may need to add this page afterwards, but for the moment I know that I'm going to be creating a URL called retreats. So I'll just add the URL right here. Then I'm going to click on Publish to publish my first service. Once the service has been published, now I have 2 more services to go. So as we did in the previous step, I'm going to click on Add New to create a new service. And for my second service, I'm going to call this Group Yoga Classes. So I'll just add Group Yoga Classes for the title. Then again, I'm going to add 1 sentence explaining what it's about. Enjoy yoga with friends. It's going to be a group yoga class. Then I need another service icon, so I'm going to click on this link one more time to go to the Font Awesome page with the cheat sheet. And this time I want to use the users one. So there's a group of people right here. So I'm just going to highlight and copy this particular Font Awesome code, then go back to my service icon and drop that in right there. And again, as I did previously, I want to add a service link. So this one's going to go to my classes page, so I'll just add the URL where I want the call to action to go, and then I'll click on Publish to publish my second service. Last but not least, we have 1 more service to go, so I'm going to click on Add New. Then for the service title, I'll call this Private Yoga Classes. So Private Yoga Classes right here. Once again, I'm going to add 1 sentence what this is about. Scroll to the bottom, click on the icon here to go to Font Awesome, and this time I want to use a single icon, so there's just 1 person showing. You can choose any icon of all these icons that you like, but I'm just going to choose this one for the moment, and then I'm going to go back, drop that code for Font Awesome here, and once again I'm going to add a URL where I want this call to action to link to. So in this case, it's going to go to the classes page as well, since this is related to, it's a different kind of class. Then I'm going to click on Publish to publish my third service. So once we have 3 services created, now we can add a section to our home page which includes these 3 services. So to add the section to our home page, I'm going to go to Pages, click on All Pages right here. Then I'm going to go down to the home page. Then I'm going to click on Edit to edit the home page. And as we did for the first row, the text, our mission row, I'm going to add another row to the home page by clicking on Add Row. And I only want 1 column, so I'm going to click on 1 to create 1 full width column. Then I'm going to click on Insert, and now I have my second row. Cool. Then I'm going to highlight this row, and I want to add a widget, so I'm going to click on this button here that says Add Widget. We can see on the left-hand side we have our Sydney theme widgets if you want to go there directly, or we can scroll to the bottom and we see all of these theme-specific widgets. So the one that I want is a services widget, and we can see here there's a Sydney front page services type A show what services you are able to provide. So that's the widget that I want. I'm going to click on that, and then we add that to my second row right there, which is super cool. Then I'm going to click on edit because I need to edit this. Then we need to give our services row a title, so I'll call it Practice With Us. Once you add a title, then you need to add a URL for the call to action. So I'm going to add my classes URL right here, and the text for the call to action button, I'm going to say Learn More. Okay, once we have those three things there, then I'm going to click on Done, and I'm going to click on Update to update the entire home page. So now once the page has been updated, let's take a look at what it looks like on the front page by hovering over the website name and clicking on Visit Site. And now we should see our second row with our services listed in that section. So here we go. We've got our icons. That looks good. Our title. So this looks really great. The only catch is that we want this to have a gray background instead of a white background. So I'm going to go back to my dashboard. And here on my dashboard, then I'm going to go back to the home page by hovering over pages and clicking on all pages. Then I'm going to go down to the home page and click on edit. And then what we need to do to add the gray background to that row is we need to edit the actual row. So note that we're not editing the actual widget. There's another little wrench here, and when I hover right on top of that, I can edit the entire row. So that's what we want. I'm going to edit the entire row by clicking on Edit Row. Then on the right-hand side, I'm going to click on Theme, and this will give us a number of different settings related to the row. So the bottom border color, I'm not going to touch that right now. I do want to add top and bottom padding, so I'm going to make that 50 pixels. I do want to center align the content, so I'm going to click on this box to enable that. And most important, here's the background color for the row. I'm going to click on Select Color, and we can see right now it's a white color. So I'm going to change that to a gray color right here. And I happen to know the code, but if you don't know the code for whatever color you want to make your background for the row, depending on your brand and the colors you're using for your website, you can use this color wheel here to guide you in the kind of whatever color you want the background to be for the row. So I want it to be a gray color, so I'm just going to pop that code in right here. Then I'm going to click on Save to save my changes. Then I need to update the entire page by clicking on Update. So once a page has been updated, now let's take a look at the row by going up to the top, clicking on Visit Site, and now when we scroll down to section number 2, here we have our white section. Now we see that looks really great. Now note that there's a column here, or I should say there's a margin on the left and the right. So that actually looks okay, but I'd prefer to have it be full width so there's no margin going on. So we need to go back to the dashboard one more time. So I'm going to click on the dashboard. Then I'm going to go down to Pages and All Pages, go back to the home page by clicking on Edit. And this time for the second row, I'm going to click on Edit Row one more time. Then I'll open the theme settings, and when I scroll down here, there's another row layout section that I need to set. So the standard layout includes the margins on the left or right. When I click on this, the other option is a full width stretched option. So that's what we want to remove those margins on the left or right. So I'm going to use full width stretched, then click on Save, then last but not least, click on Update to update the page, and we're getting the hang of this. Now I'm going to go back to the home page by clicking on Visit Site, and I'll scroll to the bottom, and now voila, those margins are gone. It looks so much better. So that looks really good. Now if you don't want the red, we'll come back to this. We'll circle back to this later. I think actually it looks really nice with red. I might just keep it as red, but as we saw in my finished site over here, I had changed it so that it's black. So it's really up to you. I'll go over that a little bit later in the video, how to adjust the colors. But for now, I'm going to leave it like that because it looks really good. So next up, we need to add our next section, which is a video. So I'm going to be adding a really cool wide video that takes up the whole area to the third section here. And it's going to be called Stand Up Paddleboard Yoga. Join us. We'll have a video, and then that's what that section will be all about. So going back to our dashboard, so here on the dashboard, to add the third section to our home page, we want to go back to the home page by hovering over pages, clicking on all pages. Then we're going to go back to the home page by clicking on edit. And here on the home page, once again, we're going to add another row to our home page. So I'm going to click on add row. I'm going to make it one column. Then I'm going to click on insert. Then you can see that it's showing up above my services, which I really don't want. I want it to be the third one listed. So I'm just going to drag it down below so it's on the third section right here. Then I want to add a widget. So I'm going to highlight this row and click on add widget. And once again, we want to add a Sydney widget. So I'm going to scroll down to the Sydney widgets. And this time I'm going to find the video widget right here. So Sydney-video, I'm going to click on that. And here we have our video widget. Then we need to click on edit. To edit this widget, we need to give it a title. And here you can add a URL of either a YouTube video or a Vimeo video. So I'm going to be using my new YouTube channel for my yoga website, my yoga channel. It's a new channel that I just created. It's my side channel. So anyway, I'm going to go to that channel over here, grab the video by clicking on the video right here. Then I'm going to grab the actual URL by clicking on share. Then I'm going to scroll down and here's the URL that I need right here. So I'm going to highlight that URL and copy it. Then I'm going to go back to my page here and paste the URL that I just copied in the previous step. And I'm going to click on done to complete that update. Once a video section has been added, then I'm going to click on update to update my home page. So now let's take a look at our home page by going up to the top, clicking on visit site, making sure everything is as we want it to look. So then I'm going to scroll down on the home page. Here we have the first section, the mission, the second section, our services, and here we have the third section, our giant video. Cool. Now, this particular black bars on the YouTube video, this is related to how I uploaded my video to YouTube. If I had used different dimensions, I probably wouldn't be having these black bars. On the Vimeo video, actually, if I add a Vimeo video instead, then I won't have these black bars. Something to do with how I uploaded the video to YouTube. So because I like to get it just right when I'm creating a website, I uploaded the same video to my Vimeo channel. So I'm going to grab that URL instead really quickly. I'm going to jump over to Vimeo. And then I'm just going to scroll down to where I have that video right here and click on the share button. This is on my Vimeo.com channel. Then I'm just going to click on show options and I'm going to remove the text link underneath the video and I'm just going to grab this link right here, highlight it and copy it. Then I'm going to go back to the settings, go back to this home page by going back to the dashboard. And here on the dashboard, I'm going to go to Pages, All Pages. Then I'm going to go back to the home page by clicking on Edit. And here on the home page where it says Sydney Video, I'm going to click on that, click on Edit, and I'm going to swap out the YouTube URL for the Vimeo video URL that I just copied in the previous step. So I'm going to add a Vimeo video instead right now, and then I'll click on Done. Then I'll click on Update, and now when we go to the home page, those bars will not be there. They should not be there. So I'm going to click on Visit Site. Then I'm going to scroll down to section number 3. And here we see when I scroll down to section 3, we have section 1, 2, and 3. Now we can see the video without those black bars. So I uploaded the same exact video to YouTube as I uploaded to Vimeo. And the Vimeo one just doesn't have the bars. So I'm going to go with the Vimeo video embed instead. Okay, next up we need to add section 4 to our home page. So jumping over to the finished site over here. Here is my finished site, and after the video, now I have my testimonials showing up, and once again, I have this full width row with a gray background. So we have 2 more homepage sections to add, the testimonials, revolving testimonials section with a gray background, and we have our latest blog post section right there, and then we are done with our home page. So to add revolving testimonials to the section 4 row, first we need to create those testimonials. So back on the dashboard, I'm going to click on testimonials, hover over testimonials, and click on all items. And here we can see that we don't have any testimonials yet, so we need to add one by clicking on add new. Here in the title of the testimonial, you want to add the name of whoever is giving you the testimonial right here. So I'll just put a name. As it notes, enter a title here. This is the name of whoever gives you the testimonial. And then I will add the quote of this person right here. You can also add a client function or company name in this field down below if you'd like. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to click on Publish to publish this testimonial. Once a testimonial post has been published, I can create a few more. So I'll click on Add New. Then I'll give this particular testimonial, whoever gave me the testimonial, I'll just add in a name right here. Then I'll add the quote right here. Again, you can add a client function or company name. Then I'm going to click on Publish. So you just want to do this however many times you want to, however many testimonials you want to include. You just want to repeat these steps. I'll add one more so that we have 3 total testimonials. Okay, once I have my 3rd testimonial, then I'll click on Publish. And once we have all of our testimonials, now we can add a new row to our website with the testimonials widget. So to do that, I'm going to go back to the pages, hover over pages, and click on All Pages. Then I'm going to go down to Home Page, click on Edit. And as we did in the previous, for the previous rows, I'm going to add another row, add a row. I want this to be one column, one full width column. Then I'll click on Insert. Now note it's showing in the 2nd position, so I'm just going to move it by dragging it underneath the video row right there. Going to click on that so it's highlighted, and then I'll click on Add Widget to add a widget. Here we want to add the testimonials widget, so we see here is a Sydney front page testimonial, so I'm going to click on that. And then once this is added, keep in mind we want this one to have a gray full width background. So as I did for the services row, I'm going to customize the entire row by clicking on this gear right here and clicking on Edit Row. Then I'm going to click on Theme on the right hand side. I'm going to give it a top and bottom border of 50 pixels. I will center align it by clicking on this Enable button. And for the background color, as we did for the other row previously, I'm going to click on Select Color, and I'm going to give this a kind of gray color, so F4, F4, F4. Then I'm going to scroll down, and I also want to change the row layout, so instead of standard, it is a full width stretched row layout. Then I'm going to click on Save to save that change for the entire row. Now once the row has been customized, we still need to customize the testimonials widget. So here in the widget area, there's another edit link, so I'm going to click on Edit. Then I'm going to give this a title of Praise, since this is my testimonials. And then you can also add a call to action to this row by adding the URL for the call to action as well as the text. So for the button, once people read the testimonials, I want to encourage them to, any of my viewers, to sign up for my classes, my yoga classes. So for the text, I'm going to write Practice with Us, and I'm going to send people to my classes page. So anyone who is checking out the testimonials, they can then click on a button which will go directly to the classes page, and they can read about what my services are. Then once I have that all set, I'm going to click on Done, and then I'm going to click on Update to update the entire page. So now when we go to check out the home page, I'm going to go up to the top, click on Visit Site. And now when I scroll down to Section 4, we have Section 1, Section 2, Section 3, and here we have Section 4. So that is really cool. This is a rotating testimonial, and we have this call to action, which when someone clicks on it, they'll go directly to the classes page. So our last section that we need to add here is our blog post. So once again, I'm going to go back to the dashboard. Here on the dashboard, I'm going to go to Pages, click on All Pages, and go back to the home page. Then here on the home page, we can edit the home page by once again adding a last row. So I'm going to click on Add Row to add a row. I want this to be a 1-column row, so I'll click on 1 right here. Then I'll click on Insert, and last but not least, I need to move this to the bottom, so I'm going to drag it underneath the testimonials row right there. Then I'm going to click on this full width row and click on Add Widget, and the widget that we want is the latest posts widget for the Sydney theme. So here it is right here, latest news, show the latest news from your blog. I'm going to click on that. That will add the latest news widget to my bottom row. Then I'm going to click on the edit right here, this little link, to edit this particular widget. And for the title, I'm going to call it Latest News, or I should say latest on the blog. And then here in the third row, it says add the text for the button here if you want to change the default. I'm going to make this a little bit larger so you can see it a little bit better. There we go. So we have the latest on the blog, and then we have the third button right here, third field. I'm going to add my call to action, which is visit the blog. So once that's all set, then I'm just going to click on done and then click on update to update the home page. Okay, so now that we have all the widgets added that we like, I'm going to go back to the home page by clicking on visit site. And now when I scroll down to the last section, here we have our latest on the blog, and then we have our first post. Now the posts are not showing yet because we haven't created any blog posts, so let's create 3 blog posts so at least 3 of those show up here in the home page section for latest on the blog. So to create a blog post, I'm going to go back to the dashboard. So back on the WordPress dashboard, to add a blog post to your website, you want to go to the top toolbar, hover over the plus new link right here, and then you can click on post. Or on the left-hand sidebar, you can go to post, hover over post, and click on add new. So WordPress gives us a number of different ways to do exactly the same thing. Here on the add new post page, I'm going to start by giving my new blog post a title. So I'll add my title in there, and then here in this white box you want to add the content of your blog post. Now note that there's 3 different tabs here, a visual tab, a text tab, and a page builder tab. For the blog post, you don't need the page builder tab. All you really need is the visual tab and the text tab. The difference between these 2 tabs is that the visual tab, when I click on that, this will give you some formatting icons so that you can format your content without knowing any code, and WordPress will generate the code behind the scenes. So I'm just going to drop in some content here for my blog post. And once I have my content here in this white section for the visual editor, if I want to add a link or format or do anything like that, just like a word processing document, Microsoft Word, an email, or something like that, all you need to do is highlight the text that you'd like to format and then click on one of these buttons above. Then you'll see over here when you click on the text view, WordPress behind the scenes will generate the HTML for you that will create the formatting for this particular text. I prefer to work within the visual tab though, so I'm going to click on visual and leave it on the visual tab. And I really don't need this bolded, so I'm going to unbold it by highlighting it once again and clicking on the B to unbold this text. Now on the right hand side, I'm going to leave it as the standard blog format right there. If you'd like to add this particular blog post to a specific category, you can do so by creating a new category by clicking on this link here that says add a new category. Then I'll just add the category called yoga, and I will create the category by clicking on the link once again that says add a new category. Then we'll see it will be checked right here, and this blog post will be organized under the yoga category. If you'd like to add any tags, you can do so right here. So I'll just put practice, and then I will put yoga. And if you have more than one tag, you want to separate them with a comma. Once you have your tags here, then you can click on add to add the new tags. Now, earlier in the video, I followed another video on my YouTube channel that showed how to create a custom email opt-in form on my website using the Magic Action Box plugin. So following up on that, that's why we see this option here to add a Magic Action Box email opt-in form underneath my blog post, which is always a good idea. So I'm going to click on this, and then I'm going to click on the actual email opt-in form that I created earlier in this video. So that will be showing up underneath my blog post. Then the last step here we have a featured image that I need to add. So I'm going to click on Set Featured Image. And the image I need is not in my media library yet, so I need to upload it by clicking on this link here that says Upload Files. Then I'm going to click on Select Files. Then I will select the file that I want by highlighting it, clicking on Open. And as we've done for previous images, I want to add a title and an alternative text. Once I have the title and alternative text, then I'm going to click on Set Featured Image to set the featured image. Okay, also keep in mind that the dimensions that I've added here for this particular image are 827 by 827. You can add any dimension you'd like, but most likely it will look the best if it's a square image. Of course, you can play around with the dimensions and whatever dimensions that you'd like feel free to add. I'm going to go with the square image right here. Click on Set Featured Image, and then I'm going to come up to the top and click on Publish to publish my blog post. Okay, so once a blog post has been created, I want to create 2 more blog posts so that we can fill out the homepage section with the images, thumbnail images of the different blogs. So I have 2 more blog posts to go. So once again, I'm going to click on Add New. And here on the blog post page, first up, I'm going to give my new blog post a title. And then here in the visual editor, I'm going to add my blog content. Once I have the blog title and the content added, then on the right-hand side, I'm going to add my blog post to a category. Scroll down, then I'm going to add my email opt-in form to the bottom of the blog post by selecting the magic action box right here. So I'll choose the box I created specifically for blog posts. And then finally, on the right-hand side, I'm going to set the featured image by clicking on Set Featured Image. Then I'm going to click on Upload Files and Select Files. Then I'm going to select the file that I want right here and click on Open. And as we did in the previous images, I'm going to add a title and an alternative text. Once I have the title and alternative text for this image, then I'm going to click on Set Featured Image, scroll up to the top, and publish my blog post. Okay, so now that our blog post has been published, we have 1 more to go. So I'm just going to click on Add New, add a blog post title as well as the blog post content. Then on the right-hand side, I'm going to scroll down, add this blog post to the category that I created. Then I'll scroll down a little bit further. Here where it says Magic Action Box, I'm going to add an email opt-in form underneath the blog post. So I will click on that. And last but not least, I'm going to set the featured image by clicking on Set Featured Image, clicking on Upload Files and Select Files, and then I will select my file and upload it to my WordPress website. Once the image has been uploaded, then I'm going to give it a title as well as an alternative text, and then I'm going to click on Set Featured Image to set the featured image. Finally, at the top, I'm going to click on Publish to publish my blog post. Okay, so now that my 3 blog posts have been published, last up I'm going to revisit all my blog posts by clicking on All Posts right here. And there's 1 post that I need to delete because this post comes with the WordPress installation. As an example, as a demo, we really don't need it. The one that says Hello World, I'm going to delete that one by clicking on Trash to delete that. Then once it goes to the trash, I'm going to click on Trash and I'm going to permanently delete it by hovering on top of the title and clicking on Delete Permanently. Okay, so now I have 3 published posts, and when I click on the All link here we see my 3 posts. So now when I go back to my home page by going up to the top, hovering over the website name and clicking on Visit Site, now we have my homepage completely set up the way I'd like it. We have the logo at the top, our menu items, the title, the subtitle, and a call to action on top of the slider. Then we have the various sections of the homepage, including the mission section, our services section. Then we have this large video right here, our testimonials, and last but not least, now we have our images for the latest on the blog, so anyone can read the posts on our blog. Then we have our call to action to visit the blog archive page. Finally, at the bottom, we have our footer section with our email opt-in form and our social media icons. So let's test a few of these. I'm going to go back up to the top, then I'm going to click on Learn More, and that should go to the About page, which it does, which is really great. Then, of course, we have our internal image at the top, so that looks really good. Then I'm going to go back to the home page and check the next link. So it's always a good idea once you're done to check all your links and make sure that everything works the way it should. So here we have private yoga classes. This one goes to the classes page, so I'm going to click on that. And here we have our classes page, so that looks good. Then once again, going back to the home page, I'm going to check out this other one. Note that when I hover on top of this, I can see the URL down here in the left-hand corner. So I know this one goes also to the classes page, so that link works properly. However, this other one, as you may remember, goes to a retreats page, and I'm not sure if I made that page yet already. So when I click on this link, let's see what happens. Okay, oops, that page cannot be found. So we need to create the retreats page. So I'm going to go back to the WP admin, to the dashboard. And here on the dashboard, I'm going to create a new page for my yoga retreat. So I'm going to hover over plus new. Then I'm going to go down to page to create a new page. First up, we need to give our page a title. So I'll just call this yoga retreats. Then you want to add some content within the white box here. So I'll just post some content there. And then if you'd like to add an image anywhere on this page, you can do so. I'm going to add one at the bottom. So I'll just put the cursor at the bottom, go up to the top and click on add media. And I think I will select this image right here that I already have in my media library. So I'm going to click on Insert into Page. So now we'll have that image showing up. And then I'm going to scroll up to the top and click on Publish to publish my retreats page. Now note that the URL that I actually need is simply retreats, not yoga-retreats. So I'm going to edit this here by clicking on the permalink edit button right here. And I'm going to remove the yoga dash part and then click on OK, because this is the actual URL that I use for that call to action box button on my home page. It's simply the domain name /retreats. So then I'm going to update this page by clicking on update. So now when we go back to double check that link for retreats, I'm going to go back up to my website name, Katrina Yoga, and click on visit site. And now when I scroll down to the retreat service option, I'm going to scroll down there. Here we see it right here. When I hover on top of yoga retreats and click on retreats, now this will go to the page for yoga retreats. Now note that there is a sidebar here, and for my pages, I kind of prefer not having a sidebar. So I'm going to remove that by editing this page. So I'm just going to click on the edit link right here. And I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to choose the option where I don't have a sidebar on the right hand side. So in order to remove the sidebar, we want to go to the template section here under page attributes, click on that, and then we want to choose the full width template. That will remove the sidebar on our page. Then I'm going to click on update to update the page. So now when I click on this link to check it out, I'm going to click on View Page right here. You can also click on this link here that says View Page. And now we'll see that the sidebar has been removed, which is exactly what I'd like. So there we go. Now you may want to also add a call to action button here, and you can do so by simply adding some text and a link to either contact you or to sign up or whatever call to action you'd like. For now, I'm just going to leave it as an informational page, and if anyone wants to contact me, they can come up here and click on contact. But it's always best to have a call to action directly on each page. Okay, so going back to the home page right here, I'm going to scroll down, and this Learn More button should go to the classes page, so I'm going to click on that just to double check it, make sure that it works, and it does. So that looks really good. And last but not least, we're going to check out the other section here. So we have our video. We know that that works. You just click on the play button and then it will begin to play. Then scrolling down, we have our revolving testimonials. So that looks really good. And here's the Practice With Us link or call to action, which also goes to the classes page. And then last but not least, we have the latest on the blog, our 3 blog posts, followed by, at the very bottom here, when I scroll down, here we see we have a Visit the Blog link where you can go directly to the blog archive page by clicking on this button. And here we see, here's the blog archive page, and one after the next, we have each of our different blog posts. Awesome. Now note that on the right hand side we have the default sidebar content showing up with recent posts, archives, categories, metadata. This we really don't need, so last thing I want to do is I want to customize content here on the sidebar. So to do that, I'm going to go back to the dashboard, and here on the dashboard I'm going to go down to Appearance, hover over Appearance, and click on Widgets. Then here on the right hand side we can see all the default widgets that come with your WordPress installation. So a lot of these we really don't need, so I'm going to get rid of them by opening them up like this and clicking on Delete. You can also simply drag them to the left hand side and they should just remove themselves by just kind of disappearing. So I'm going to get rid of all of this stuff so that all I really have here is the search box. However, I do want to have my email opt-in form on the sidebar, so I'm going to use the Magic Action Box widget right here and drag that up to my sidebar. And then, of course, I need to choose the correct action box. So I created one just for the sidebar. So I'm going to select that one. Then I'm going to click on Save. Okay, so we have our email opt-in form on the sidebar, and we have a search box so viewers can find what they're looking for on or within your website. Last up, I'm going to add some recent posts. So I'm just going to grab the recent post widget right here and drag that up to make it a little easy for my viewers to find, some posts that they may be looking for, the most recent post. So I'll just display 3 posts because I only have 3 at the moment, and then I'm going to click on Save. So to check out the sidebar now, I'm going to go back up to the site and click on Visit Site. Then I'm going to go to my blog page by clicking on Blog. And now we'll see here we have the blog archive page, one by one, all my different blog posts. And on the right-hand side, here we have the sidebar with my customized email opt-in form, my search box, and my recent post. Now let's take a look lastly at this contact page. So I'm going to click on Contact, and we do need to add our contact form. I forgot about that. So I'm going to click on Edit, and in order to create this contact form, we're going to be using a plugin called Contact Form 7. So I'm going to go to my plugins page, hover over plugins, and click on Installed Plugins. And I haven't yet added the Contact Form 7 to my website, so I need to do that by clicking on Add New to add a new plugin. Then I'm going to go to the WordPress plugin library, and I'm going to do a search for Contact Form 7. Here it is on the top left-hand side, Contact Form 7. It has over 1 million active installs with close to a 5-star rating, and it was just recently updated 3 weeks ago, so this is a super awesome contact form plugin to use. I'm going to install it by clicking on Install Now, and once the plugin has been successfully installed, I'm going to activate it by clicking on Activate Plugin. Okay, so once a plugin has been activated, now we can check the settings by clicking on Settings right under the plugin name right there. And here we have, by default, our first contact form comes with this particular plugin. So I'm just going to click on Edit, and here we can see all we need to do is copy this shortcode and paste it into our post page or text widget. So I'm just going to highlight all of this right here, highlight it and copy it. Then I'm going to go to Pages on the left-hand side. Then I'm going to look for the contact page, here it is right here, and click on Edit. And then here in this white box, actually I want to make sure that I'm in the text box. Note that there's a visual tab, a text tab, and a page builder tab. I'm going to click on text right here, so I'm in the text tab. Then I'm going to paste the code that I just copied in the previous step, pasting the shortcode for Contact Form 7, like so. Then right above it, I'm going to add a short note inviting my visitors to leave me a note by filling out the form. Okay, so once you have your message and the shortcode listed right here, then I'm just going to review everything else on the page. We see that it is a full width template, so that looks good. Then I'm going to scroll down, everything else looks good, so I'm just going to click on Update to update my contact page. So now when we go to the contact page by clicking on View Page, now we can see we have a really simple, really cool contact form here so my visitors can contact me directly from within my website. Now if you'd like to also add an image here on the right hand side, you can do so. I'm going to do that. Why not? That sounds like a good idea. Click on Edit. Then I'm going to place the cursor where I want the image to be displayed and click on Add Media. Then I'll use this image down below, this one on the right. Then I'm going to scroll down. Attachment display settings, I want to align this on the right hand side, so I'll click on right alignment. I want to link it to nothing, so I will click on none, and I want the full size that it states right here. Okay, then I'm going to click on Insert into Page to insert my image into the page, and then finally I'm going to update the page by clicking on Update. So now when we check out my contact page by clicking on View Page, now we'll have both the contact form, a message, and an image here on the right hand side. So that looks great. So back here on the homepage of our WordPress website, there's one last customization I want to make, because earlier in the video I promised that I would circle back and I would show you how to customize these 3 icons here within our services section, so that instead of red, these are black. So actually it looks really nice with red right here, but just to show you how to change the color, once again I'm going to be using the Google Chrome Inspect Elements tool. So in order to do that, here in Google Chrome, I'm just going to hover over the icon right here, click on the Control button on my mouse, then click on my keyboard. If you're on a PC, I believe it's right-click and then Inspect Elements. Then this box will open up, and we want to click on Inspect Element. This will go directly to the code that we need to customize. So here on the left-hand side, we can see all the HTML that's being used to generate the structure of the website. And here on the right-hand side are all of the CSS styles which determine the appearance and what it looks like on the website. So we can see here we have the roll icon box, and the color is this red color. So I'm just going to click on this and I'm going to change it to black. So that is my new color right there. Then I'm going to highlight all of this code and copy it, because any change we make in this right-hand section is not yet saved on our website. We actually have to add this to our custom style sheet that we created earlier in this video. So once I have highlighted and copied this code, then I'm going to close the developer tool window and go back to my dashboard. And here on my dashboard, I'm going to go down to Appearance and Editor. Once I click on Appearance Editor, then we can see here I'm on my child theme style sheet, and this is where I can drop the custom code that I just copied in the previous step, making sure that I have 2 brackets, an opening bracket right here and a closing bracket. Once I've added this code to my style sheet, I'm going to scroll to the bottom and click on Update File to update my file. Now once we go back to the site by clicking on Visit Site, and now when I scroll down to the services section, now we can see the icons are now black. However, we still have the border that we need to change as well. So in order to do that, once again, I'm going to hover over this icon right here, hold down the Control key on my Mac, and then click on the keyboard or the mouse. Then I'm going to choose Inspect Element to open up the code for this particular section. Here we see that the border has been highlighted. We see it here on the right-hand side. We see the red color right here with roll icon box dot icon, and this is the border color that we need to change. So I'm going to click in this area right here, and that will pop up the code. Then I'm going to change the red code for the black code right there by just pasting in my other code. And then now we can see on the left-hand side we have a black border as well as a black icon. So the last step in order to save this change is to highlight the code that I just customized right here. I'm going to highlight all of this and copy it. And as we did in the previous step, I'm going to close this box right here, go back to my dashboard. And here on the dashboard, I'm going to go down to Appearance, hover over Appearance, and click on Editor. Then here on my child theme style sheet, I'm going to paste the code that I just copied in the previous step, scroll to the bottom, and click on Update File to update my file. So now when we go back to the home page by going up to the top and clicking on Visit Sites, now we see when we scroll down to the services section, now we have the black border and the black icon within our services section. So we're good to go. So this is how we create a really professional looking business WordPress website for a yoga business or a wellness business or pretty much any business you may have using the free WordPress website theme called Sydney. At the top we have our logo, we have our menu items right here, our title and our tagline and our call to action. And if you created a slider, you will also have some revolving images right here. I created a static image, however. Then scrolling down the home page, we have our mission really clear. Then we have our services, what we offer for our yoga business. Then we have a YouTube video or a Vimeo video right here to kind of bring to life our website. And then underneath that, we have our testimonials, our latest blog post, followed by our footer section with an email opt-in form to start capturing leads directly from within our website. And we have our social network icons so that anyone who visits our site can easily connect with us on the social web. Then we have here at the top, we have our classes page where we spell out in detail all the different services that we offer for our yoga business. And we have our blog archive pages so that we can start driving traffic to our website through our blog, which is always a good idea. On the right-hand side, once again, we have our email opt-in form to capture leads, and we have our recent post and a search box. Then we have our about page to share what our website is about and who we are. And last but not least, we have our contact page so anyone can easily contact us from within our website. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you made it this far, congratulations. You should have a WordPress website for a yoga business, wellness business, or other business that looks something like this. Before we go, I want to give a big shout out thanks to A-Themes, the developer of the beautiful Sydney theme that we used in this video. Thank you so much for providing this awesome theme for all of us to use within the WordPress community. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please feel free to drop me a comment below, like the video, and share the video with your friends. I will be coming out with more videos related to WordPress, web skills, and building your online business. So please subscribe for updates to my YouTube channel. Until next time, I hope you have a great week and continue learning new skills that help you to build your business on the web.